Hello, everyone. My name is Aasha LaCount. I am the founder of BeyondEQ International, Emotional Resilience for Leaders and High Achievers. I am also a motivational speaker and a keynote speaker, and I run workshops for teams, in particular in hospitality and golf clubs, as well as really any company that is ready to focus on the nucleus of their business, which is the emotional intelligence, the energy that the business has. I have a really unique method, and I'm going to talk today a little bit about that. But first and foremost, I want to talk about the pressures of running a club. There are so many factors with running a club. I have been a member of high achieving clubs in a capacity of consulting, as well as working in the management team, as well as now being a member of a highly reputable club here in Los Angeles. And, it's about keeping members happy. It's about maintaining a high performing team, right? And also, having just that general pressure. And when we talk about men's mental health, and why burnout is invisible with men in particular. In this video, we're focusing on men. It is oftentimes because that pressure is kind of leaking into their personal life, and it becomes maybe an underlying resentment or an inability or even the tools on how to express what's going on inside. And this is really, really important, especially right now. We are dealing with young men that are particularly feeling isolated as isolation rises and suicide rises as well. So we do have to have these conversations and bring awareness as to what may not be working when it comes to men's mental health. So I've worked at the country club in Brookline, also Piping Rock Club in New York, Royal Sydney in Kit in Australia, and this is my jam. I love building resilient teams and working in hospitality in particular, and with high performers. I'm a high performer myself, of course, but I was also really burnt out, and I knew that if I was like that, definitely there were other people like that as well. And with men in particular, when we're talking about male golf pros and men who are in the club industry, burnout happens because of long hours, perfectionism, suppressing emotions. We're going to highlight that a little bit more today. And then, of course, performance pressure. So members rarely see this, of course, but that unresolved stress can lead to resentment and disengagement in staff. And quite frankly, this is where a lot of clubs will lose good employees or almost demotivate employees because leaders don't quite have the tools to help. And we want to highlight some of those things today. It might look like a pro going home and like overthinking the feedback that they received and building this quiet resentment. And then their performance is going to begin eroding like anything else. Okay. It's really important. And a lot of men weren't taught this. And a lot of men have been programmed to push their emotions down. So, how do we change this and increase the perspective? When we introduce Beyond EQ and the method to get these practical tools involved in your team, the first thing we need to do is recognize it. We have to have the conversation and say, are you feeling burnt out? Do you feel burnt out when you get home? Are you feeling burnt out from this job? So on and so forth. Okay, we're already at about $71 billion in the burnout industry. And according to many general managers that I connect with on the daily, they're saying they really truly believe it's worse than ever before. And so we do have to say, are you burning out? Like, how are you feeling? These questions are important. But what's most important is getting to the root to reset it. So, in order to get to the root to reset the emotional burnout that your team members may be experiencing, it requires a little bit more of a conversation about what's happening in their brain, what is actually happening with stored resentment. And this affects our brain, it affects what we call the trigger response or behavioral self control. So if a man is pushing that down and pushing that down and pushing that down, he may snap. It may affect his family life or something sometimes even worse right now, as we know. And isolation is a feeling where even if we're in a room of 50 or 80 people, we can still feel really alone, like no one understands what's going on. If you add going home to no love or no nurture or a disconnected family life, we're now putting another layer onto financial stresses or performance stresses. And that is the vital importance of the reset. So often leaders are doing the best they can, and they know that they have to use psychological techniques to offer feedback and create camaraderie and connection. And imagine when we go a little bit deeper into private sessions with these employees to create something a little bit more substantial. So in Beyond EQ, we focus on inner dialogue. We focus on behavioral self-control. We focus on feelings of isolation and ask these poignant questions so that we can have what we call breakthrough moments with the leaders and the people that we lead. This is then an opportunity for you to start responding as a leader in a way that shares a piece of you and understanding where the pressures may be coming from. And, that's natural. It's a beautiful way that we lead is by sharing some of our stories and communicate more effectively without hurt feelings. If you are giving feedback or offering feedback to someone who is dealing with a deeper rooted behavioral self-control issue or a trigger, they may perceive your feedback incorrectly. That can cause somebody who is a high performer to simply start hating their job because they feel they need to get out, fight, flight, or freeze. As leaders, imagine having the tools to equip your team to have the understanding of sitting in uncomfortable feedback, being able to take on that feedback without making it personal, without making it something that deviates from the job at hand. Now we're talking about an entire team, I like to say, of Ferraris, right? So if we have a team of Ferraris, we can look under the hood. In fact, with a Ferrari, do you say, oh yeah, take a look at my engine, like look underneath. I've got nothing to hide. Where before, perhaps, yes, on the outside, it looks good. It's like a Honda or something like a Jeep or something. It looks great, but maybe it has like a, leaky gasket or, a couple parking tickets. We want to be more in that high performance where everybody really does feel good. And it's like a circle of family, work, and being able to communicate. It's really, really circular energy of just, everybody's energy feels better when everybody is ticking in this type of behavioral self-control and ability to work through triggers. So let's talk a little bit about why this matters. And before we get into why it matters, I want to give an example of what this looks like. Let's say you are a leader and you are trying to offer feedback to a team member. A couple of things could happen. That team member could walk away and feel upset toward you and start having a conversation with another lesser team member or lesser, not lesser team member, but less, maybe in like a person who doesn't have quite as much leadership, and that can cause a toxicity. Or they can hold it in and they can hold it in and they can hold it in. So what we want to do is we want to offer scientifically backed little data points to help people start thinking about what's going on inside of them. So how we do this is we then would say, okay, well, this is what behavioral self-control looks like. It's the ability to respond as opposed to react. And then we go a little deeper into the brain and why this happens, and a little bit deeper into fight, flight, or freeze. So if you're teaching that to your team, let's say at like a team meeting, takes 5 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, you can ask them emotionally intelligent questions. How do you feel like you respond? Do you feel like you have moments where you want to just like scream? And if that's the case, who do you tend to do that to? Is it somebody at home? Do you coop it up? And you can say to your team, you don't have to answer this out loud, but let's just start thinking about these types of questions and maybe you can have them write it down as well. believe it or not, doing this stuff gets them thinking about what's going on inside them, not what's going on out here. We don't have any control of that. What we have control over is our own reaction and our response. But if our team doesn't have the tools to understand how to do that, how can they possibly react or respond differently? They cannot. It's up to us to provide them those tools. Another example might be with your child, right? So with my son, I'll say, so yeah, I saw that your coach was giving you some really heavy feedback, right? My son's a football player. How'd you feel? Were you nervous? And well, how did you feel? Were you angry? He's like, yeah, I felt angry. I felt overlooked. I felt frustrated. And I say, okay, yeah, I can totally understand how you could feel that way. And remember, he's your coach and he's offering you this feedback because he cares. And if you're feeling those certain things, why do you feel that you're feeling that way in the moment? Can you relate that back to anybody else that makes you feel that way? Maybe, he's had another male figure in his life that has made him feel that way. Sometimes the father, or sometimes a grandfather, or something like this. And so you can get those cogs thinking, and believe it or not, they start to have their own aha moments, and it immediately makes them calmer and more regulated. So this is all about connecting your teams, engaging with your teams, making stable teams. This is literally the golden ticket. And trust me, we are going to need it, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence, and something that you can even implement with your membership if they're ever interested in doing these types of exercises to get their teams aligned as well as we continue to move forward with leadership shifting so quickly. So on that note, invisible burnout, invisible resentment, emotional intelligence, this method, this is what creates sustainable leadership. And the call for you is to, encourage your leaders to start small, ask these questions in what I like to call downtime or striking when the iron is cold. So you can literally add a 10-minute discussion about emotional triggers for 10 minutes at the beginning of a team meeting. And believe it or not, I have seen literal magic start coming out of teams after 5, 10, 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be some brouhaha or like a big, huge workshop. It can really be done that quickly because you're asking questions that are putting them back onto their self and their own behaviors. And then integrating this, of course, integrating these techniques, going a little bit deeper with our frequency test. Please reach out and let me know how we can be of support. I also do keynotes and workshops that are so helpful and transformative. And really, it is about men's mental health for me in the moment in this particular video. And I work with women in regulation as well as parents and members as alike. Looking forward to seeing you soon. And don't forget that stable leaders really do build stable teams, and that ripples out. And this is where a thriving club culture starts to, be created. This really is it's the ripple effect of the stability at the top. All right, I'm looking forward to connecting with you soon. And thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.